Hello and thank you for joining me here at Angie B Crafts. So what we're going to do today is make a little mini book out of these 3 sheets. So these are all gel prints that I did in a previous video, and it was basically covering up some 6x12 papers that I didn't like, and then I decided that I'd also do the backs and make it into a little book. So I'm going to start off by quite simply scoring. These are 30 centimetres, so at 15 I'm going to score on my hoogie board, and then I'm going to flip and I'm going to score again on my hoogie board. Now hoogie boards are brill. The lady who developed the hoogie board is called Kay. Now Kay named the hoogie board after her dog, which is why there is a picture of a dog on the hoogie board. You can do all sorts on them. I do not do anywhere near what you can do on them. I just use it basically to fold paper, but you can do all sorts on them. The reason that I'm doing both sides, when you use this sort of a system, what you're doing is you score down the channel, so you stretch the fibres on that side so that the paper will fold that way. If you want the freedom of movement, if you flip it over and score the other side, you're actually stretching the fibres in the paper more, so you've got a lot freer movement. Okay, so that's why I do both sides. So for now we will move the board out of the way. We may come back and use it, I'm not sure yet, but for now we'll remove it. So these are my pages. So what I need to do now is decide which is the front, which is the back, which is up, which is down. I like that page. I think I like it. I think it's that is going to be the front, I think. That's possibly going to be the front. Oh, I quite like that one as well then. Between the two of them. Decisions. I think I'm going to go with that one at the front. Okay, so we're then going to just basically have these pages together. Now if you put pages together like this, particularly with this it's not really thin paper, what you find is that they layer up at this end and then they're not equal at this end. Now generally in a book you want them to be equal, but because of the style of the prints on this, there's quite a few of the pages that I'm thinking I'm not as keen on the edges. So what I'm going to do is just tear the edges a little bit. Let's have a look. Yeah. So I'm going to turn it this way because I want to see where I'm tearing on this side, because I don't want this bit here. So this is going to give us a nice edge that's going to come in less than the edge of this. I'll show you this now. It now doesn't stick out. Now the other thing that you can do if you want them neat is just cut down them so they're all equal, but I find that just tearing them like this, it gives it the rough edge that I like the look of, and it means you don't then have to worry about cutting them down. Again, it's down to personal preference, as most of what we do in creativity is. It's personal preference. I like wonky edges. I like them looking slightly rough. So here we have, let's see, I think we'll have the blue at the darker bit at the top on that one. Yes, I like the way that one looks. I like the way that one looks. Yeah, so I'm happy with those. So now I need to look at how am I going to bind them. So I'm going to bring in my bookbinding equipment. So this is my bookbinding kit. So the important things you need, this isn't essential, but I think it's brilliant. But the important things you need are an awl, some needles, some bookbinding cotton, and it's useful to have couple of clips, and if you haven't got waxed thread, then it's useful to have a candle, and it's also useful to have a bone folder. Okay, so we'll pop this to one side. I'm actually quite happy with this grey being the colour, so I'll stick with that, and then we shall move forwards. All stored very neatly in a Ferrero Rocher box. Right, so first things first, I know I've scored these on the hoogie board, but I just want to get a very defined fold on them. Just let me move this out of the way. Oops. Make it fall apart. It's designed to come apart. Don't panic. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering. Right. So there's one. So the reason that you want a good crease is so that you can get them as snugly into each other as possible, and you'll see the difference in a minute when I show you the edges compared to how they were earlier. Okay, so if we now look at the edges and we look here, they are much tighter in. Now what I use to help me with deciding on where to sew is this fabulous piece of kit from Bizarrology. So it's a little cradle, and it comes with this little counter thing, I don't know what you call it, which starts at a 0 and then goes up to 10 on either side. I'm going to turn it this way up just so that I can then see it, so that I know where I'm going to. And what you do is you take your book and you pop it in the middle, and you want it centralised, so it's coming in at roughly between 7 and 8. Okay, and then open to your centre of your book, and you get your awl and you look where the 0 is, and you poke through at 0. There's your first hole. You then look where you want your other numbers. So I want to do just 3 holes because I'm doing a 2-piece thread of it. So if I do them at 5 and 5, that's going to give us a really nice position. So that's 7, 6, 5. That's going to be there. I'm not getting it through. There we go. I'm just not pressing hard enough. And then go through there. And you'll find that it goes through much smoother when it's got a hole to come out the other side. And that's the end of the use for the little cradle. Actually, I'm telling a lie. I've just realised I used it completely wrong there. I meant to put that on top of there. And you go through the holes. Makes sense, doesn't it? I've not used it for ages. So yeah, you go through the holes that way. So if I go in 0 here, find my hole so it gets into the 0. There we are. So there's 0, and then I went in at about 5, which there, and the same on this one. It was there. So yeah, it's done it in the right place, but that's how you're meant to do it. And the reason you get this is it just makes sure that the pages are held in place, so you go through them equally. So apologies, that was me not showing you how to do it properly. Had the same effect. Was just wondering why it was so complex. So now we'll move this out of the way. Then we need our thread. I'm just going to put that up there for a second while we get our thread. Now this is bookbinding thread, and I tend to go 3 times the length of the book and a bit for good luck. Okay, and then we choose a needle. So most of my kit I just got off the internet. There's nothing fancy schmancy about it. It's just general bookbinding stuff. Okay, so now we have our book, and we're going to go in through the middle hole, and then I'm just going to use it with my thumb to hold it in place. Then I'm going to go out through the top hole, in through the middle hole again, and then we're going to go through the bottom hole, and then we're going to come together. Now this bit here I'm going to cut again. Doesn't matter that you've got excess thread. The idea with the thread is that you've got enough to work with. If you make it too short, you are not going to have enough to work with. And what I'm going to do is just tuck that underneath, so that when I now tie it, it's going to be holding in the middle there. Pull it firmly, give it a good tug, and then tie it. There's one, and then there's the other. So I tend to just do 2 knots like so, and there we have our bound book. Okay, so this is the most simple binding you can do. There is nothing complex about it. Then we chop these off. Now if you do wax your cord, then you will find it sticks down quite nicely. If not, what you can do is use a little bit of PVA. What I tend to do is just use a little bit of Mod Podge if I haven't pre-waxed. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of Mod Podge. What we can do then is start to decorate it. Okay, so for decorating our book we have all these pieces left. Now what we can do is we can start to introduce pockets and foldy bits. If we want to introduce a side pocket, what we can do is quite simply just fold over part of the page, and we then have an immediate pocket. Okay, so I'm thinking to keep that in keeping with that, I'm going to put the folded over bit here, because then the colours will continue across. So I'm going to wait until that centre bit's dry. So I'm going to fold that and form it into a pot. In fact, no, I quite like the idea of having it done just on here. So this is doing it without a scoreboard. You can go back onto your scoreboard if you want to, and I'm just doing an approximate fold of where I want it, and then I'm just going to give it a crease with the bottom folder. And then what you'll do in a minute is we'll stick those down, but we're just going to wait until that's dry before we do too much messing. So there's one pocket. For another pocket, what we can do is exactly the same on here. So we can have that. That's on the middle one, so we'll have this on another side. So we'll just do that in here. Now these books, you'll see lots and lots of videos about making books using your gel presses and your gel press images and the likes. I just like to play. It's down to you as an individual what you like your books to look like. But I think one of the things that I'm going to do is cut some tags out of this, and we can have little matching tags. But I'm also thinking that I quite like to have a pocket here, but I want it to have the torn edge again. Now this in theory is about the same. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. We can even have a corner pocket, can't we? So we can have a corner pocket to incorporate the parts that we like. So we could have it like that, because you can then come across here and we can get all this lovely texture in. I like that. I think that'll look nice. Right, I'm going to go for it. Let's just do it. So because it's a corner pocket, it's going to be like a triangle. I'm just thinking if we do it this way, when the book is shut, nothing will fall out. You can still tuck things in there. So I think that looks better. So that's a pocket there. We have a pocket on that page. We don't currently have a pocket on this page, and I think we need one. It might just do a standard across the page pocket on this one. Quite low. Like so. Right, we do need to trim it a little bit, so I'm just going to get my scissors and just do a straight cut up, just to trim that edge, and then we can sit it in and we can have a little bit of a rim around it. So here I have some nice fine red liner tape. Just trying to find the end of it. There it is. And a pair of skizzes. Right. So we are going to go across here. Now for pockets, I do not use wet glue. And the simple reason for that is you can't judge where the wet's going to stop. So if you squish it down, you're going to end up with a much wider area of glue. Whereas if you use red liner tape, where you put the tape is going to be the end of your stickiness. And that just seems to make more sense to me. So if ever I do a pocket, I always just use red liner tape. There's this one, there's also a yellow one that you can get. They're both pretty strong. I think this is the red liner's the strongest. There's quite a few companies do it. I know that, what's the name of the company? Crafty Devils do quite a good deal. I think it's Crafty Devils, or it could be no, it's Pink Frog. Yeah, Pink Frog do quite a good deal on the red liner tape. So they do big rolls rather than the little rolls that you get on most places. So they're quite good. Who else does them? We've got, I think just the shopping channels do their own. Sorry, I've stuck it over the other tape, that's why I'm struggling to get it off, because I overlapped them. But yeah, the red liner tape is really good. So we now have a pocket here. Now I'm only doing thin pockets, I'm not doing any of these adding little folds in on the pockets, which obviously you can choose to do. I'm just choosing to make this as simple as possible. Because this is folding in, look, you just suddenly don't see that edge, which is brilliant. And remember, on this you're only doing the sides because you've got to stick it on to the page. You're not sticking across the torn bit. And that is the voice of experience when I've not been concentrating and I've stuck tape onto the wrong parts and ended up just with a thick piece of card as opposed to a pocket, which isn't helpful for anyone really. There we have another pocket. And here we have another one. So this is really bookmaking at its most simple. I do not claim to be a bookmaker by any stretch of the imagination. That's our other pocket, just pop it out of the way for now. It is something that I enjoy, but I don't do habitually. There are many, many more people out there who do it a far better job than me. But this is just one example of what I sometimes do with my gel prints. It's a question that regularly comes up on a range of forums. What do you do with all your gel plates? Well, this is one option. Make a little book. So we've got a pocket here, we have a pocket here, we have a pocket here, and then we're going to have a pocket on this back page, like so. Again, I'm going to do it so it's got a little edge. I'm also going to add some extra paint onto there because I'm not happy with the way that looks. I don't like the fact that we can still see some of the pattern here. It's not doing what I want it to do. So I'm going to add on a little bit of shimmer paint. I always pull out way too much shimmer paint. I'm just going to add it on here, up the edges, and then onto the raw bit as well. So we've already used shimmer paint on the gel plate when I was doing these pulls. So these are the same colours that we used on the original pull. So I know that they're going to coordinate quite well because they're the same colours. Just want to get a little bit more of it along here because I've decided I don't like that white edge. I was going to just leave it, but I don't like it. Oh, I'm happy with that now. So that's now going to come in there. Right, we still have a couple of raw edges here, and I'd quite like to remove the raw edged look, but I'm thinking I'm just going to do it in my good old-fashioned way of using my Stays On ink pad, which is here, because I just think that gives it a nice finished edge but maintains the grunginess as well. I do love a Stays On. Must order a new one. This one is most definitely looking a bit beyond its best. Right, let's see how I manage it on here. So this is going to be a bit more challenging because we've already stuck it down. Doesn't need to get rid of all the white, it's just to remove the starkness of it. So I don't mind that we've got the white edge, I just don't want it starkly white. That will do me, that's grungy enough to suit me. And then we can do this one. Now I'm just having a look. There's quite a lot of white on this piece. So again, I'm just going to use the Stays On. I just love the effect of the Stays On. It's really, really good. You can use any ink pad. This is just my go-to ink pad. I love it. You will hear me talk about it lots in my videos. Let's see, they're all okay. Just put a bit more on this one, I think. So this is basically the shape of the book. There isn't a lot to it. This is just one example of what you can do with it. So what I'm going to do is just flick through it one last time and then leave it there for today with a view to just showing you what we can add on to it to decorate it and the likes. So we've got the front cover, we've got a single pocket here, a single pocket here. So on these other pages we can decorate it how we like. If we want to, when we come back to it, we can add more pockets in. This is still a bit wet, so just be careful if you do use the sticking down with glue method. It takes a while. We've got another double page there, and then here we've got the lovely corner pocket. So remember, the reason that I put it on that side is so that when the book is closed, whatever's there doesn't fall out. And then we've got the back. So that's my little book. I will be coming back and doing more sort of sticking things on and decorating the front and possibly some of the insides, but that's how to make the book itself. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.